You're listening to Something Cheeky, a collection of podcasts where two sisters discuss TV, books, and movies with just enough irreverence and far too many pop culture references. Welcome to Something Cheeky, where we discuss the TV series Vikings. I'm Nikki.
I'm Rosanna.
While I've watched the entire series, Rosanna has only watched up to what we're covering today, which is Season 3, Episode 3, Warrior's Fate. In this episode, everyone is frustrated but Lagertha, who just badassly revels in everything that happens. Before we get started and on the action here, we have a new review we'd like to read. We have not been remembering to read reviews as we originally planned, but we're going to start. So if you leave a review, listeners, we will read it on all of our shows, because we love you and we love reviews because they're super awesome. This review is about our movies podcast, where we currently have covered Wonder Woman and Spider-Man Homecoming. It's from Theme Park Films Podcast. Top stuff, 5 stars. Very enjoyable and professional sounding show. This is their latest project. They have series on other topics too under the Something Cheeky umbrella. Very much look forward to watching or listening to the Something Cheeky movies grow, and I'm sure you will too. Thank you, Theme Park Films.
Thank you.
All right, let's get started. Rosanna, what was your reaction to this episode?
I didn't have a real reaction to this episode.
Why is that?
Well, I wasn't super excited. I wasn't disappointed. It was like, I guess when I got to the end of it, I felt like it went by really fast, and I was left wanting more.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of things happened, but none of them were really significant.
Yeah. It was kind of ho-hum. I mean, it was fine. It had the characters I liked, and there was action and interaction between characters, but it just wasn't like the highlight of the season for me, I guess. I feel like the stuff that happened during the episode was important, and it was important to see. I don't know. Just meh.
Well, it's the 3rd episode of the season, so we're past the exciting first episode. And we're not quite yet to the middle where I think the season really starts building toward the second half.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it is kind of a plot and subplot building time right now.
Yeah.
What was your favorite quote from this episode?
The quote I chose is by Ragnar. He's talking to Floki, and he's, I think, losing his patience with Floki a little bit.
I know exactly which one you picked now.
So this is after the battle and after Torstein has died. Ragnar says, "We're all fated to die on a certain day, yes, but it is our own choice to do as we please until that day comes. I did not force Torstein or any of you to come for that matter. You all chose to be here. My heart is as heavy for Torstein as anyone's, but I am sure I will bump into him again soon. And in the meantime, Floki, shut your face."
It was a good one.
He's like, yeah, Floki, I get it.
He lost patience with everybody in this episode.
I think that he had a lot of overreactions because he was sad about Torstein. I think that he didn't have as much control over his emotions as he usually does because he felt sort of raw from losing, one of his oldest friends. I think he totally overreacted with Björn.
I don't know, are you sure it isn't just his time of the month?
That could be it. Because that's the only time people overreact.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think he definitely was too hard on Björn. And I think it's because he was hurting.
That's an interesting point, too, that I didn't think of till now. He was telling Björn it would be his fault if Þórunn died. Mm-hmm. And so now I'm wondering if he thinks it's his fault, that if he's taking what Floki said to heart and thinks it's his fault that Torstein died.
I'm sure he feels some responsibility and some guilt over it, whether it's justified or not. I'm sure he does feel that. He's the king. He's the leader of this group. He makes all the decisions. He says where they're going to go. He did tell them they could come or not come, but I think he definitely still feels responsible for all of them.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's get into the action. I am splitting up the action into the geographic locations. We're going to do Mercia, and then we'll cover Wessex, and then we'll get to Kattegat with all the ladies and the mysterious stranger. In Mercia, Floki is mad, as he usually is in England.
He does not like England.
It's his default emotion is just anger and rage in England.
He's grouchy there.
He doesn't want to fight for the Christians. He says that the triumph of the Christ God will mean the death and destruction of all of ours, which is pretty true for history. He's got history covered there. That's why the Vikings aren't around anymore, is because they were converted.
Maybe Floki's gonna be the new seer.
Ooh, I like that idea.
He would be good at it too, because he's kind of weird.
Well, he is the most devout person we know.
Yeah,
In
absolutely.
the show. And I'd say including the Christians in the show.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Rollo breaks up the argument, which is kind of a new thing for Rollo.
Very strange for him to be, what do you call it, a peacekeeper or a...
Yeah, in this episode, he was the peacekeeper and the comforter.
Yeah.
And the pep talker.
I swear, with Rollo, the people that are making this show, we don't like him, we do like him. We don't like him, we do. So last show, we're talking about how irritated we are that, he grabs Quenthrith totally uninvited, and he chops some guy's leg off because it was in a weird angle, and he's getting
Out of nowhere.
high on the mushrooms and all and then this one, he's like the grandfather, let's all get along, and
This is usually Lagertha's actions, is what Rollo was doing.
it's like just pick
It's so inconsistent.
something. Yeah, it is really inconsistent, and I'm not sure if what they're trying to make us feel, because I can't get a handle on how I feel about Rollo because they keep changing him.
Yeah.
It's like it's not the same character every time.
He's Moriarty. So changeable.
So changeable. Moriarty at least was consistently diabolical.
I want a shirt now that just says consistently diabolical.
Consistently diabolical. I'm the diabolical you can count on. Yeah, so I don't know what to do with Rollo. I really don't. Because when he acts like this, I really like him. And then when he acts like he did in the last episode, I just think it's really immature. It's like he goes back and forth between acting like a 14-year-old boy and a 40-year-old man.
Yeah.
Just pick one. Just be 30. Something.
Would you like me to give you a spoiler that's not useful at all in helping to figure out what happens?
I find it hard to believe that you're not putting me on right now.
I'm actually not.
All right.
I was just going to say, this whole changeableness doesn't really resolve itself this season.
That's annoying.
I really do think it's just the writers being really inconsistent.
Why?
I don't know. It's interesting to see him in fulfilling both of these types of roles. The more nurturing, caring Rollo, and then the weird berserker, out of control Rollo. But it really is, it's like two separate people. I don't know if they're just trying to make Rollo more complex and complicated.
Well, this is not how to do it. It is not correct. And I wonder if maybe this sympathetic, sensitive, nurturing Rollo, maybe it's supposed to be a reaction to Torstein dying.
Ah, maybe.
Maybe we're supposed to see that has touched Rollo emotionally, and so now he's acting more emotional. I don't know. But even so, even if that was the intent, it's not done very well, and I don't think it was. I think it's totally by accident. It's like there are two people writing Rollo, and they're taking turns.
Yeah.
And they're not talking to each other in between.
They didn't watch the last episode.
Yeah, and I gotta feel like that has to be frustrating for the actor that plays him. He must
Clive Standen.
get there and read the script and go, what? This is completely different than last time. This is not true to my character.
At this point, what is true to his character? We don't know which one he is.
That's exactly right.
Rollo's having an identity crisis.
Maybe he has, it's not called split personality disorder anymore. Maybe he has dissociative identity disorder.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it's called?
Did.
Maybe he goes back and forth between two different personalities.
It's a mess.
Yeah, it is. He's a big character in the show, and so it's frustrating for me to watch him.
I wonder if they're doing it purposefully to try to make him just unpredictable, but I don't think it's done well.
Well, I certainly never know what he's going to do. If they're trying to confuse me, it's working.
He makes some very unexpected choices this season in several different ways.
Okay.
And it is hard to predict.
Okay.
Let's keep going. Ragnar, still just in a bad mood. He stops Bjorn and Þórunn from flirting, tells them it's time to go fight. And then Quenthrith stops him and wants Ragnar to spare her brother. So she's apparently still trying to save him. She has a strange relationship with her brother, very motherly.
Yeah, she does.
It's kind of creepy.
I don't think there's much that she could do that would surprise me based on what we've learned about her. She's just kind of a mess. Understandably.
Yeah.
And so I think her relationships with other people aren't completely normal because she doesn't really know how to have them. So
okay.
It makes sense to me, especially because he's probably the only man that's ever been in her life that she didn't feel threatened by or scared of. So it kind of makes sense that she's sort of motherly to him.
We don't know what happened to their mother. She doesn't seem to be in the picture. So maybe Quenthrith did fulfill that role as he was growing up.
That could be too.
They're all heading out, all the Vikings, and Torstein is lying down, obviously in bad shape. He stops Rollo, says he's perfectly able to fight, and he wants to go as well. And it's pretty obvious that he just wants to go to Valhalla.
Yeah.
And he's not gonna if he keeps lying down dying from this infection.
But, I mean, he got injured in a battle. I don't think it would be fair not to let him into Valhalla.
That's true. I'm not sure where the cutoff is, if there's like a 5 days after battle, it's too late for Valhalla. Your window has closed.
The cutoff's at the shoulder.
Oh, God. You're fired.
Thank you.
And that's it.
Hey, if that's what I get fired over, I accept it. That was a good one.
Your terrible jokes. Dad would be so proud of your dad jokes.
I know.
Also, it is so obvious that his arm is in his shirt.
Yeah.
It was so distracting. And I know there's not really a good way to do that, because you can't get rid of an arm.
Well,
But
there are ways, CGI ways.
I think they did CGI his arm out when he died and the blood was spreading across his shirt. Other than that, I think it was very purposeful that he was hunched over all the time.
Yeah.
So he could let his shirt hang low. All the Vikings start climbing up this really big hill. And they can't really see anyone at the top. It's kind of foggy. But they do hear some noises. And Torstein volunteers to go first, which is pretty smart because I'm not sure he'd even make it up there if he waited too long. Probably just collapse anyhow.
Yeah, that part was sad for me because they didn't say goodbye to him even though they knew that was going to be the end.
And they did kind of a scan around everyone's faces. And it seemed pretty obvious that everyone knew he was going to die.
Yeah, everyone knew, but nobody could say goodbye because it would have been too hard for him to keep going, I think.
Yeah. When even Floki, oh man, when they went to him, he was kind of just like hand over his mouth, like looking nervous and upset, and
yeah,
it was sad. Torstein walks forward and sees a bunch of soldiers. He catches them by surprise. They're just kind of milling around. They start attacking him with some arrows. He gets some arrows to the knee. And for anyone that has ever played the video game Skyrim, that's all I could think of every time he got hit. You've probably even heard it even though you haven't played the game.
I have.
I used to be an adventurer like you, but I took an arrow to the knee.
I've never played that, and I have heard that.
It's such an old joke by now. It's hilarious. I felt bad because I was kind of giggling, even though Torstein was dying.
You're terrible.
I'm sorry, Torstein. So the soldiers start coming up to him to actually fight him up close, and he's praying to Odin. And he starts to kind of collapse as they get closer and closer, because he's smart. And he gets one in the gut with a knife before they completely kill him. So at least he, actually fought.
Yeah.
I think he guaranteed his place in Valhalla.
Yeah.
Which now makes me sad again for Leif.
Yeah.
When he got sacrificed, which made him not be able to go to Valhalla.
That's really not fair.
Yeah. Maybe he'll get a pity visit every once in a while to Valhalla. Does that happen? Do they have field trips from Hell to Valhalla?
I just hope that Odin's the kind of god that's like, you know what? You were a good sacrifice. You did what they asked you to do, and you didn't fight about it, and you didn't cry about it. So yes, you may come in anyway.
I don't know if Odin is, but I'm pretty sure Raven Gandalf is. Listeners, if you haven't listened to our very first episode, they showed someone who was supposedly Odin on the battlefield, and Rosanna just coined him Raven Gandalf because that's exactly what he looked like.
That is what he looked like, and I didn't catch that they said that was Odin. I missed that, so I just started making up names as I have continued to do.
And we all appreciate it. I'm surprised you don't have a name for Egbert yet.
Yeah, I should. I don't know. I guess his name's easy enough to remember that I could just remember it.
I always think Egg when I see him. And then I think Eggsy, and then I think Kingsman. And I'm so excited Kingsman 2 is coming out soon.
I keep thinking Egbert is sort of like he's like a shampoo commercial guy. I mean, he's...
What?
Like King Pantene or something.
Of the hair?
Yes! He's got this like very luscious sort of
Oh my god.
super 70s Farrah Fawcett kind of thing happening.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Which is surprising for his age. Not just that he has that much hair, but that he wears it long like that.
Oh, okay. And
Because it's not a wig.
speaking of hair, in this episode,
Oh my god, the nobles.
their hair was so bad. Those wigs,
Oh, I wrote that down.
were
Yes,
so
they were
bad.
terrible. Yeah.
it was almost like an SNL skit of Saxons. It was so bad. The hair was so bad.
Yeah, all the nobles just, as soon as I saw them, I was completely taken out of the show, and I
Yeah.
just started laughing because they looked ridiculous.
I couldn't even listen to what they were saying because all I could do was focus on their bad hair.
The wigs were so obvious.
They were really bad wigs.
Sometimes the hair is amazing. Like, they do amazing things with the women's hair. And even some of the men's.
I think maybe they just didn't give it enough time. Like, they didn't spend enough time on their hair. Yeah, it was bad. Distractingly bad.
Yeah. Well, Torstein's dead. I think that I would be a lot more upset about it if it were last season, before they gave him these weird actions, and they made him weird this season.
They really did. Really weird.
They made him far less likable than he was before.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, because I would have liked to love him as much as I did last season when he died.
Yeah, and also now he has 2 fatherless children left in the world.
Yeah. Those women are going to be mad when they get home and he's not there.
That's messed up.
All the Vikings attack, and these soldiers look pretty scared as a group of very large men come up over the hill. Everyone starts fighting. There are shield maidens there. Þórunn gets cut up. She gets sword to the face, and she almost gets killed, and Bjorn manages to save her, and then beats the soldier to death with his own helmet.
Yeah. Ugh.
Which is brutal. Ragnar gets grazed by a spear. Maybe even a little more than grazed. It looks not great. He's obviously troubled by it later.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it was that bad at the time, but then he kept sort of grabbing it later, so it must have been worse than it looked.
What do you think of that? Should we be worried?
Nah. He's Ragnar. He's fine.
He'll pull through.
Yeah.
Ragnar makes it to the very top of the hill, where there's a big, not canyon, but it's like a big bowl. And I'm assuming that's where the Iron Age fort had been before. That was kind of the protected area.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they previously had built up, like that was the basement of their fort. I don't know. I don't know if they had basements like that.
I don't think so, but okay.
Prehistoric basement. He sees a huge number of, well, not a huge, but a pretty good sized number of soldiers in formation just waiting. Because they apparently heard what was happening outside of their bowl.
I was a little concerned at this point.
Yeah, and what they don't see in their bowl is Aethelwulf and all of his archers in a ring behind them at the top of the bowl. I hate calling it a bowl. I can't stop.
Yeah, there's probably a really technical word for it, too. And then when we saw the archers, I thought, well, this English army is real stupid to be
Yep.
so vulnerable in this position. How did they not think that through? It didn't even occur to them?
And while technically they were on higher ground by using the hill, they are fish in a barrel in this bowl.
Yeah, exactly.
It's terrible. I don't know why they thought that that was a good place to be. It
They're real dumb.
was probably Mouth Breather's idea.
Probably. And that's why they lost, because they're stupid. I did like Aethelwulf in this episode a lot more than I've liked him in the past.
Ah, yeah. How come? Because did we ever actually hear him talk?
No. Well, no, we did, because he said, don't kill the prince.
Okay, he shouted. I did like his reactions.
Yeah, I liked that he didn't have to say a lot. We could see what he was thinking. He followed what Ragnar said, even though we know that he doesn't have much respect for Ragnar, really. But he did what Ragnar told him to do because he knows that he's part of this team. He's a team player. He's been like that the whole time, even if he disagrees. And
this is basically a team building event.
It is, yeah. I thought he was more attractive in this episode than he has been. I don't know what it was about him. He just looked better.
I feel the same way, and I have no idea why.
Right? I don't know what it was.
I really don't know.
I just looked at it and I was like, okay, the wolf. I don't know if it's because he was standing up high and he was like seemed very powerful and he was commanding these archers and it was like very, I guess, regal, sort of. I don't know. There was just something about him this episode that I didn't hate him. He seems like his father's son in this episode.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I'm just really shallow.
I do feel like the more distance he gets from his father, the more confident he is himself.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And he just makes his own decisions, and that does make him more attractive. And I think he probably feels better, because he does seem so discounted by his dad.
Yeah.
Aethelwulf tells his archers to let loose, and they start shooting the formation soldiers in the back. They start falling. Does not take very long to take down a lot of them, because they're stupid.
Yep.
And Ragnar tells Aethelwulf to stop shooting at Mouthbreather, who is surrounded by a little circle of his own men who are falling down very quickly. And then he surrenders, which is the first smart thing I've seen him do.
Exactly. And he should have done that before this point, during the last battle.
When he saw ships full of Vikings with decapitated heads.
And I think the only reason he surrendered at this point was he must have heard Ragnar and Aethelwulf say, don't kill the prince.
I disagree. I think the only reason he surrendered this time was because no one was left alive to tell him what to do. And he surrendered so somebody would tell him what to do.
Yeah, he's terrible.
Because immediately Quenthrith takes up that role and tells him what to do. She makes him go apologize like he's 5 and has colored on somebody's wall. He just needs somebody to be in charge. And the people in charge are all dead now, so he has to find somebody new to put in charge.
Yeah, he's probably content to let Quenthrith tell him what to do now. He's probably used to that.
Yeah. The battle ends. Torstein is dead. Floki blames Ragnar. Everyone's angry. Everybody is angry in this episode except Lagertha.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like she's the only person who's happy. Bjorn is with Þórunn, who's very injured, and we're not sure if she's going to die or not. He tells Ragnar at this point that she is with child. And Ragnar gets really angry that Bjorn let her come. Says he, I think, has the strength of a man, but the will of a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think's going to happen to Þórunn?
I won't be surprised if she dies.
Okay. That's just because you want Bjorn to marry a king's daughter.
I don't want him to. That's what the seer said.
You haven't been very fond of her the last few episodes.
I've never been fond of her. I've never liked her character. And I really like Bjorn. But I know that if she does die, it's going to destroy him.
Mm.
I don't know. I'm alright with her living. Fine, you may live.
I'll allow it.
But I won't be surprised if she dies. Also, it goes back to this whole production note. How many scars are they going to have to put on her every single episode since she got cut in the face? like half her face got cut off or something.
Yeah, they just had a piece of cloth over half her face, and it was just soaked in blood.
Yeah, I guess she could just wear, like, half a mask. She could do, like, Phantom of the Opera.
That's what I was thinking.
She could try that. Also, so we've talked about how the timing is so weird on the show, and we never know how much time has passed. And I'm very confused because it seemed like some time had passed when we see Lagertha and they're getting ready to harvest. So it's been a while, long enough for that.
Yeah.
But Þórunn is not showing at all. She should be pregnant enough to be showing, and she's not.
Especially since she's so thin, she would show.
Yeah.
Pretty early.
So, I I'm confused about the way they're doing time. I don't know if that's an oversight or if they're like, yeah, it doesn't make sense, we don't care.
Rollo comes in with his comforting uncle routine. Says that Bjorn shouldn't go all weepy around her because she is at the gates of Valhalla and he needs to draw her back or she'll give up. Ragnar, still angry, is walking away. Burgred comes up to him to apologize and Quenthrith with the, there's something he needs to tell you. It's just so... It's so motherly in an unpleasant way. Just made me cringe.
Yeah, it's not good.
I mean, he's a grown man, you know?
Sort of.
Burgred apologizes, and Ragnar promptly headbutts him, says he forgives him. And that is Mercia. Ready to go to Wessex?
Yeah.
Wessex. As you said, the nobles are wearing ridiculous wigs.
Ugh.
And they are going to tell the secrets of farming to the Vikings, and they want to know the shipbuilding secrets that the Vikings have. They also want them to convert to Christianity. Egbert basically demurs and says he's just using them to get Mercia, with Quenthrith as a puppet, which we figured, but it's nice to hear him say it out loud. But that's exactly what he's planning.
I was kind of surprised he said it out loud, though.
Yeah.
But maybe he's trying to get the guys to stop questioning him.
Ease up, bro. And he also says, who knows what will happen to this settlement in the future?
Sounds ominous.
Yeah, that's the word I was thinking. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I think that Egbert doesn't care very much about any of the Vikings except Lagertha. I think the rest of them, he couldn't care less how they do. But I think he's also smart enough to know that if things don't go well for them, then Lagertha is going to leave or be mad at him if she can see that it's his fault.
They go to the Wessex settlement, and Rosetta Athelstan strikes again. Lagertha can suddenly speak very good Saxon. I'm just imagining her doing conjugations while she's plowing the field. It is always weird that, and it's not like she just knows some words.
Right.
She knows enough to understand a lot of things.
I mean, I would consider that fluent. She's speaking it and understanding it.
Yeah. She's like third-year Saxon. Just saying. Egbert visits, and he has brought a very fancy plow, and tells them about manure. Which surprises me that they didn't know about manure.
Did they not?
They must know about manure.
Maybe he wasn't trying to tell them about manure. Maybe he was talking about how this plow with the manure is more effective.
Oh, maybe.
Because I, as a farmer, know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, man. Egbert is also using very unsubtle farming metaphors to tell Lagertha he wants to plow her.
Oh my god, yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
He's about as smooth as Bjorn. He has better words.
Yeah.
But
with him, I can't decide if it's sleazy or endearing. It's like right in the middle. You know what which there shouldn't be a middle between those two things, but somehow he is walking that line.
Yeah.
And maybe it is because he's attractive. If he was ugly, it would definitely be sleazy.
Well, he's probably really used to getting his way with women.
Oh, I'm sure.
Also, he's probably also used to people laughing at his jokes.
That's true.
So, he doesn't have to work on them very much, because he thinks he's funny anyway. We get back to Egbert's villa. Now I know what to call it. I've been trying to figure out what to call it, because I couldn't really call it a castle all this time.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to the bathhouse.
And Applestand is shirtless.
Oh, yeah. Everybody is shirtless.
Yeah.
Goodness. Lagertha's looking at the paintings on the walls, because it's an old Roman bathhouse. Egbert says that they are pagan gods like hers, the old Roman gods, and she says they are not like her gods, because her gods laugh and bleed and they're living. I always like that reminder.
Mm-hmm.
They are very different from the Christian god. So Egbert, Lagertha, Athelstan, and Judith are all in the bath. They all appear to be pretty naked. I have a feeling Judith was probably the only one modest about getting in. Maybe Athelstan.
Yeah.
But I told you at some point we'd see Apple in the bath, and there he is.
And we can see his Viking training paid off with that nice muscly chest. Yeah.
They talk about Paris for a while. Egbert went there when he was I don't remember what he said, but I just keep thinking, like, interning with Charlemagne.
I don't think he was
I don't know
interning.
what do you call it? Apprenticing? I don't know.
Was he there just, like, as company to him? Or was he there to learn stuff?
I think it was part of the court. Also, Applestand has been there as a missionary. Talks about how it has miles of walls around it. It's kind of an island. I guess it is an island. And Lagertha wants to see it. Do you think she'll ever see it?
I think she probably will if she wants to. I think she figures out ways to get what she wants.
That's true.
And could this be part of the prophecy? Wasn't there something about a city of marble or stone city or something?
That's right. I think it was a city made of marble.
Yeah, so maybe it means Paris.
Yeah. I assume Paris has a lot of marble statuary.
I would guess so, yeah.
Sure, it doesn't look like it does now, back then.
Nope, probably not.
I loved the part where Egbert and Lagertha are sitting really close to each other. Athelstan and Judith are almost at far ends, being all modest. Judith is holding her breasts with her hand. She does not want anyone to see her naked. And then Athelstan just sidles right up next to her and leans behind her to get some more wine. Like it's nothing. He is so much better with women than basically anybody but Ragnar. But even Ragnar, I would say. He is very disarming.
I think Ragnar's pretty good.
It's true. I think he makes them feel very comfortable.
I think that it's because he's more sincere than most of the men we've seen.
Yeah. He is very genuine.
He cares about Judith. He's getting close to her, and he put his arm near her, and he's saying nice things to her, and it's not because he's trying to get in her pants. He cares about her.
Yeah.
And I think that she can feel that. She doesn't feel like she's being disrespected or viewed as, you know, a sexual object, even though I kind of think that's what she's wanting.
I think she wants it, but she doesn't want to want it, and so she's very conflicted. Which I think many women have felt that before.
If he said something to her the way the other men talk, she wouldn't like him the way she does. The reason she likes him so much is because he's so genuine.
I am in love with Athelstan, so why not every woman?
It's totally understandable, yeah.
Lagertha and Egbert start to make out, shamelessly, just going at it, all naked in the pool. And Judith just leaves. She's very uncomfortable. Yeah. And Athelstan follows her, probably partially to make sure she's okay, and also maybe just to get away from the making out in the bath. Nobody wants to be a third wheel for that.
No, that was a private moment.
He's already turned on Lagertha once, so... Man, that seems like so long ago. He follows Judith into the hall, and she says that she wanted to do something in front of everyone, but she is married, and she's a Christian woman, and these things mean she can't do what she wants. It looks like he's about to kiss her, and then she leaves. Were you surprised that she left at that point? Did it seem like to you that he wanted to kiss her?
Yeah, it did seem like that to me. I wouldn't have been surprised if he actually did, but I think that leaving the bath and having that moment on her own sort of got her head straight, and so it doesn't surprise me that she was able to just walk away.
Yeah, withstand temptation. It's tough, even if your husband is Aethelwulf. I just realized, though, she's never seen Aethelwulf in the context that we have. She's only ever seen him, as far as we know, around his father, where he seems pretty diminished. So it seems like it'd be easy to not have as much respect or even desire for him based on that. She just needs to go to battle with him, and they'll be back in love. If they were ever in love, which is probably
not. Would guess no.
Yeah. Political marriage. What do you think about Judith and Athelstan? What's their future, if any?
I think it would be dangerous for them to have an affair.
Yeah. I have an idea why, but what do you think?
Well,
because her husband hates him?
Yeah. I mean, Aethelwulf already doesn't like him, and then to be betrayed by her with him, I don't know if his ego could take it. Whether he's in love with her or not, that wouldn't be the point.
She's his property.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it is in their circumstances. He might kill Athelstan. I think Egbert would have to step in and tell him he can't. And I think that Egbert would if it came to that.
Yeah. Do you think Egbert would tell Aethelwulf if Judith and Athelstan got together?
No, I don't think he would.
Do you think he'd even care?
I think he would only care in that if Athelstan was happy, then his friend was happy. You know, just that he cares about Athelstan, and so if it's okay with Athelstan, then it's okay with Egbert.
Egbert is a pretty good wingman at this point.
Yeah.
Let's all get in the bath together and be naked. I'm going to start making out over here. You guys do whatever you want.
I don't know about you, but thinking of taking a bath with my father-in-law is like the worst thing I can think of right now.
I am very purposefully not thinking of what that would be like.
It's a weird thing to do for her to have been in the bathhouse with Egbert.
It's a weird party gone wrong.
And honestly, with Judith, the way she's feeling and how she's very conflicted, I'm surprised she even got in the bath.
Peer pressure.
I don't think anybody was pressuring her to do it. They were just like, we're going to take a bath, and she could have said, well, I'm going to retire for the evening. Good night. I mean, I think it would have been really easy, and nobody would have judged her for it.
She may have really wanted to, because she likes Athelstan. Yeah. So maybe it was a test for herself, but also a let me kind of, excuse my pun, but let me dip my toes in the water of this little affair and see if I want to continue. And I can always get out if I need to, but, or she was just in complete denial and thought, of course there's no harm in this.
If that's the case, then I think that she didn't think very far ahead with this, because I believe it was more obvious and awkward for her to get out when she did than it would have been for her to not get in at all.
It's true.
I mean, because that looked like a reaction, her getting out when she did. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, she's not very old. She doesn't have a lot of experience in life, so she's just struggling, you know, with this temptation that she doesn't know what to do with.
Well, and she's probably never had any sort of, I guess, love feelings for anyone until now.
And she's probably kind of lonely. Her husband's been gone a long time.
We go back to the settlement. Apparently everyone's been there a while. And the harvest is starting, and Egbert and Judith and the bad-haired nobles, they come to tell them about the defeat of the Mercia army, and that Ragnar's alive, Bjorn's alive, and Aethelwulf's alive. They're asked to stay for the first harvest and for the sacrifice to Freya. Judith is the one that says she thinks they should stay. This is a bad idea. And I think Egbert agrees for two reasons. One, because he really wants to bang Lagertha again. And also, I think he wants to see what the pagan sacrifice is like. I think that's something that would excite him. I also think he may regret that later.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like he's pretty disturbed by it.
And the reaction of his nobleman.
It's one thing to be interested in learning about a pagan sacrifice, but to actually experience it, that is intense. Even just watching it, I mean, I think they did the music well, and just the setup well, and it was pretty dramatic. Lagertha shows up in her white gown, which usually is what the sacrifice wears. She does this really intimidating prayer to Freya, at least I thought it came across that way.
It was very passionate.
Yes. It made her look very strong and powerful. Judith took Athelstan's hand during this. They kill the steer, and the smile on Lagertha's face as they pour the blood over her.
Yeah, it was a little creepy.
It actually reminded me of the smile that Bjorn gets sometimes when he is looking really creepy. And I used to think that was something from Ragnar, but now I wonder if it's something from Lagertha. Egbert looks really startled at all of this as he starts to really see everything happening. Lagertha and the women start to sprinkle blood in the field. And I wonder if that actually helps at all in the way that manure does, if there's something nourishing about it.
I don't know. I've never heard anything like that.
My Google Foo did not work very well. I really tried to find out, but I just couldn't get the information about is blood good for crops kind of thing. I just got a lot of weird stuff about pagan sacrifice, and nothing was telling me if it actually is useful in reality. But the nobles tell Egbert that they think the Vikings should either convert or leave. Egbert does not say anything. What do you think about all that?
I don't think that's the end of it. Yeah.
Time for Kattegat. We learn that Harbard is the name of the Wanderer, and he tells stories in exchange for food and a place to sleep. And he's not sure how he cut his hand. Considering the depth of the injury, that seems pretty suspicious that he doesn't know how he cut his hand.
No, he slept rough, Nikki. It's totally reasonable. I cut myself when I sleep rough all the time.
And I don't even notice until later when I look down and,
yeah,
my hand's bleeding.
It bleeds for hours. Just drips and drips and drips, and I have no idea how it happened. Didn't hurt at all. Yeah, pretty suspicious.
So how do you think he hurt his hand?
You know, when I see the way his hand is wrapped and the way he's bleeding, it reminds me of all these scenes in movie and TVs and things where people cut their own hands with like a knife. They put the knife in their hand and they hold it and they pull it. They need the blood for something. Yep. So,
like every supernatural show ever. Just Vampire Diaries all over the place.
Which is crazy because if I needed my own blood, my hand would be the last thing I would cut because I need my hands. I would cut, like my thigh. Yeah. So the only thing I can think is that he did it to himself and
to make himself seem more needy or harmless.
I don't know. I don't know if it had to do specifically with being able to get into Kattegat. Maybe that was like, okay, this is how I'm going to get in there. I'm going to appear as an injured man and ask for help. Because he probably would seem more intimidating if he just showed up as this man. He probably wouldn't have been invited in the way he was. So, but also he has this sort of supernatural kind of thing happening with him. And maybe his own...
With the dreams, you mean?
With the dream, but then also with comforting of Ivar. So
yeah.
Maybe he needed, maybe he needed his blood for something, for some sacrifice or spell or...
Is he doing blood magic out in the fields? Maybe he's a witch.
Maybe he is.
Aslaug is very welcoming and invites him to stay. And just tells him all about everything, including that all the men are gone.
Welcome, we're totally defenseless. Please come in.
And Siggy is just like, what are you doing? Stop talking! And later, Harbard is telling the story of when he went to Utgard, the land of the giants. I looked it up, and Utgard is one of the 3 worlds connected to Yggdrasil, the tree. So it's Utgard and Asgard and Midgard, which is where the humans live. But that's where all the giants are. Harbard could not outdrink them. Turns out the horn that he was drinking from was filled by the ocean. So no wonder he couldn't drink it. And he couldn't out-rustle the old lady, which is good because she was old age, whom no one can withstand. Apparently, he was playing the part of Thor for this. He was a very animated storyteller. I can see why he tells stories for his supper. But it was weird that he was Thor in that story.
Yeah.
Also, himself watching... I just thought the whole concept of the story was kind of weird. I don't know why he needed to be Thor.
I don't know either. You are the eagle, but you're also watching above as an eagle, and very mysterious.
There's an eagle hovering over you, and yet you yourself are also the eagle. Ivar cries out, and Aslaug goes in to help him, and Harbard comes in and seemingly takes away his pain so he can sleep. And later, I don't know if it's the next day, but sometime not too long after, a fisherman is crying out for help and rows in, and he has picked up 2 young boys in his net, out to sea, it sounds like. He said 1 second he just had his net, and the next second they were there in the net, like he had caught a whale. And no one knows why they were out there. Their mothers that appear out of the crowd seem very surprised that it's them. I don't know if they just had no idea where their kids were or what happened, but yeah. Do you think Harbard had anything to do with it, like Siggy thinks he did?
I believe it is too coincidental that he was able to comfort Ivar, and then the next day 2 boys were dead. I don't know if it was intentional, but I do think it's connected.
Do you think it was something mystical where maybe the pain that he took away had to have a counterbalance?
It seemed like a trade, yeah.
Or that he's just some weird serial killer and he drowned some boys and hoped no one would ever catch them. Though it's weird that they both got caught so quickly in a net.
Yeah, it didn't even occur to me that he murdered 2 little boys, so thanks for putting that in my head.
What is your initial feeling about Harbard? Do you like him? Do you not like him? Or do you just not know enough?
I'm suspicious of him, but not as much as Siggy. She's suspicious of him like she thinks he's evil. I'm just suspicious of his motivation for being there. Why did he just show up? I don't necessarily think he's bad. I think it's weird. I don't dislike him though right now.
Okay.
He doesn't give off a baby murderer, even though you just said that. I was not getting that vibe.
Siggy goes to the seer, who seems really distracted by the wolves howling. Did you notice that?
The seer is having some issues, yes.
He keeps looking around. He's not really answering much.
I think he's scared.
What?
I think he's seen something that he's not told anybody that has scared him.
Oh.
Well, I wonder if he also has had the same dream as the women have had, or similar. Because when Siggy's telling him about this dream, he doesn't seem surprised. And he doesn't seem like this is really new information.
Okay, that's a good point.
I think that he is either scared or worried, but I think he's seen something that he's not telling.
Siggy wants to know if Harbard is kind of a magician, or if he's connected to the death of the boys. And the seer says he's seen nothing. He says he's been given no visions from the gods.
I think he's lying.
Okay, I wondered if that meant he hadn't been given any visions about what's happening, or if he hadn't been given any visions about anything at all, and if he's no longer getting visions. Which would also be cause for worry by a seer.
Oh, definitely. But I think it's hard to say because they don't really give the seer a personality, you know? So we can't really guess, how he would act. I have a feeling that if he wasn't getting visions, he wouldn't tell anybody that. If that was actually what was happening.
I would also do the same if I were him.
I think that he's telling them he's not getting any visions because he doesn't want to tell them what he's seen.
Yeah, okay. Episode ends with a pretty creepy statement when the seer says, "It's true, no one can help you." Dun, dun, dun.
They should have put that music on there.
We know how unsubtle they can be sometimes. Well, next week, we're going to discuss Season 3, Episode 4, called Scarred.
This is going to be Þórunn.
Okay.
It just seems like that has to be it.
Okay, Rosanna, ready for your top 3?
I am.
What's your category?
These are the top 3 instances of dark foreshadowing. Dun dun dun.
Flame on me.
Number 1. Floki is talking about the triumph of the Christ God equals death and destruction of our gods. So that's a pretty dark statement, and we also know that it's true.
Yeah.
So I think that we're going to continue to see the struggle between the two faiths throughout the season.
Okay.
And we know which side Floki's on, and I think he's going to continue to be very anti-Jesus Christ and pro-Odin, obviously. But in the end, his faith is going to die out, kind of. So,
yeah.
Probably not in his lifetime, but, eventually.
Now, if he has anything to say about it.
Yeah, he's going to go down fighting. Number 2, Harbard comforts Ivar, which it appears that nobody's able to do. But then the next day, 2 boys show up dead. So I feel pretty confident that there's a connection. And I don't know what that means about Harbard. I don't know if that was a consequence that he expected, that he knew that would happen, or not. Either way, if it did happen because of what he did, that's going to be unpleasant.
It seems like he knew that he'd be able to help. He didn't just go in and say, let me see if I can help. He said, let me help, I can do this. Which makes me think he's done things like this before. And so, if the boys dying are a consequence of this, then he must have expected something.
Yeah, so the thing is, I think that's true. I don't like that that's true, because he's not even trading a life for a life. He's trading comfort for 2 lives. So what he's really saying is the comfort of one child is more important than the lives of two others, if he knew that that's what was going to happen.
I do like when in fiction magic has a cost. That's one thing about Harry Potter that never sat well with me, is that magic is free. It's not hard. You just have to know how to do it, and you can do it, and it's no problem. I like when it takes real effort and you can't just do as much magic as you can come up with. There's a limit to what you can do. Like in the Dresden Files, magic is tied to your strength, and people have different levels of strength for magic, and it's exhausting to perform. And that feels, I know it's funny because I'm talking about magic, but it feels more real that would be how it worked.
Well, and I think the difference is, in the Dresden Files, I haven't read them, but you've said that people who aren't magic can perform magic based on a recipe.
Little bits. It depends, yeah.
So I think the difference is, in the Harry Potter universe, it's that you're either born with magic or you're not. So I think that's why there's not a cost or as much of an effort.
Okay.
Because you either are able to or you're not able to. And it's kind of like, this is real basic, but you're either born attractive or you're not. That's where you started. It's hereditary.
Your baseline.
Yeah, so I think maybe that's the difference there.
I'm trying to remember if the Magicians, either the books or the show, had a cost for magic. I think it did. Like,
I think it does too.
Yeah, some things could really hurt you if you did it wrong also.
And I was going to say also, in the Harry Potter universe, dark magic has a cost. If you're doing the wrong kind of magic, it does have an effect on you. I mean, you can see that just with what happened to Voldemort as he created the Horcruxes. It changed his appearance. So there's a little bit, I suppose.
I like how in the Abhorsen novels, like Sabriel is the first one, it's not just that some people have the capability to do magic when they're born. If you do a spell wrong, even a simple spell, it can kill you. It's really intense. Like, you have to build up very carefully, and even very highly trained wizards can be killed by the backlash of their own magic if they do it wrong, which is crazy and terrifying.
Well, it makes sense in that you have to be a lot more responsible.
Yeah.
And more careful, and that's probably a good thing.
I agree. What's the with great power comes great responsibility?
Exactly. So number 3.
Sorry.
Number 3, the seer says, no one can help you.
So spooky. I love it.
Pretty dark foreshadowing, I would say.
With the wolves howling in the background, and it's dark, and very creepy.
He doesn't even offer any sort of, well, if you try this, it might help. Nope. He's like, you're doomed, and there's nothing anyone can do. So have a nice life.
We're all gonna die.
And I think that part of it is too, it goes back to, I think that he is scared. He's scared of something. I don't know what it is, but I think it's making him feel a little pessimistic about the future.
Could it be Harbard?
It very likely could be.
Okay.
I don't think it's crazy to think that he was seeing in either his visions or his dreams the same thing that the women were dreaming. That makes sense to me, that he would be aware of that or sensitive to that also. So I don't think Siggy was giving him any information that he didn't already have.
Yeah, you think he would ask more about the dream where he was on the floor bleeding and tied up? What do you think is going to happen to him? Do you think that may come true? Do you think that might be why he's scared? What do you think?
I think he might die. I don't want him to die.
I like him.
I say that like every episode about somebody. I don't want him to die. I do like him in like a creepy, I wouldn't want to hang out with him kind of way. But
yeah,
I like what he adds to the show. I would be disappointed if he wasn't there.
He's a very interesting character. One of the more interesting characters, I think. Because we don't have to worry about him and what he's going to do in battle, or him finding a woman, or any of that.
And he has no agenda.
Yeah, it's just about his magic.
Right. And I think a good example of a good character is when his scenes are over, I wish they lasted longer.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I got to hear him talk more. I want to hear what he has to say. You know, there's some characters that it's like, oh, could this scene just be over? I'm so sick of this guy. But the seer, I want to hear more. I want his scenes to go longer. I want people to ask him questions, and I want to hear what his answers are.
Is that just so he can explain the predictions he makes that make no sense?
I would like him to do that, even though...
Oh my god, Rosanna, you're basically the seer of this show.
That's true.
You're the seer of something cheeky.
I am the seer. My predictions... I'm sorry. My prophecies... often come true in ways you'd never expect. And still can't see how they've come to pass yet. Yeah. I'd like to say I'm like 3366, right?
Yeah.
Is that too generous?
You actually made a prediction in this episode that is a fan theory.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you not going to tell me what it is?
No.
Why?
Why would I ever tell you?
Why wouldn't you tell me? Is it a spoiler?
I think telling you would spoil you for if the person lives or not.
Is a fan
Because you really never know who might die.
Will I ever know?
We actually don't know if the theory's correct or not. At the end of the 4th season, we don't know. I will tell you next season.
Oh, for Pete's sake. I got a whole list of stuff you're supposed to tell me next season.
I will, though. I'll tell you next season that this is the point we've reached where you predicted this, possibly.
Okay.
I know I'm being very vague, but...
Are you sure?
I'll tell you when we get to the point where we get more evidence that this is an actual theory.
Okay.
And it's actually a theory I never had at all. It never occurred to me until I saw the theory later, and I looked back and said, oh, of course. But, yeah, I did not see it coming. So now you have to wait. Ha, ha, ha.
Well, good job. You got me back on all the horrible things I said to you when you were reading 14 this weekend.
Listeners, Rosanna recommended 14 a while back as a cheek of the week, and I finally got around to reading it, and I read it in one day, because I just couldn't stop.
You finished
it? Was so good. I did. I stayed up till midnight last night finishing it. I could not put it down. It was really good.
So now you have to read the Fold.
I have that one on my list next.
I love 14. That's such a good book. Mom and Dad liked it too.
Interesting.
And did you feel like it was a book that you really didn't know what they were talking about and where it was going? And it was surprising? Yeah, I loved that.
I hate when I can predict what's going to happen. I like making predictions, but I don't want to... I don't want it to be obvious that I'm right or wrong. But yeah, listeners, I was sending Rosanna texts like...
Asking questions like I was going to tell you.
Get to turn the tables. And all your answers were like, I wonder.
Is he? Is it?
And of course my texts back to you were full of profanity and exclamation points.
There was a lot of profanity. You're right. A lot of, I hate you, you're the worst.
A lot of really angry gifs.
Yeah. Oh, yes. The GIF war was fun, too.
Any other predictions about anyone else? So, let's see what we've got. The settlement. What do you think's going to happen with settlement? Is Lagertha going to stay there? Is she going to just get it set up and go back to Norway with Athelstan? Is she going to hook up with Egbert? Are they going to have a million babies? What's up?
Well, I think we've heard that she's not going to have any more kids.
It's true. She's supposed to become a virgin again, according to the seer.
But does that mean that she could have
Maybe.
kids? I don't think so. I don't think she's having any more kids.
I wonder.
I think that she really likes Egbert, and I think Egbert really likes her, and I think that they're going to want to continue to spend time together. So I don't see her heading back. However, she might decide she needs to go check on Hedeby, because we didn't get any Hedeby in this episode at all.
How do you think baby Cal's doing? Just being a jerk.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I kind of don't mind if she never goes back and just lets baby Cal run it into the ground or get overthrown. Actually, I think she might have to go back and it's going to be a fight, I think. Maybe she'll take Egbert with her. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
Do you think he might ever leave England?
Sure. Oh, he definitely seems like he's curious enough about other cultures and their culture to go visit, for sure. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he went. It also wouldn't surprise me if his advisors advised against it.
I advise against their horrible hairdos, so...
Oh my gosh. Yes. Shave your heads. I also wonder if Ivar wasn't just comforted, but maybe cured? Somehow? Because one night of comfort for 2 lives seems expensive.
Well, maybe it's a lot of nights of comfort. I don't know.
Maybe.
So what about Harbard? What's he going to do? Is he going to stay in Kattegat? If so, what's going to happen?
I think he is going to stay in Kattegat. I'm not sure why he's there.
Do you think Aslaug is going to continue to tell him everything that's happening, even though she shouldn't?
Dear God, I hope not. Aslaug, what are you doing, you weirdo? Hi, welcome, please come in. We're totally defenseless. Would you like to eat our food and touch our babies? It's fine. This seems more naive of her than we've seen before.
Yeah.
So, it's very odd for her character to be so unguarded, I guess.
Maybe the person who wrote her lines also wrote Rollo's lines this episode.
Maybe they trade back and forth. You write Rollo this week and I'll write Aslaug, and then next week we'll switch. And Helga seems totally on board with this guy. She's like, hey, welcome to the circle. Tell me more stories. This is super cool. She doesn't seem worried about him at all, even though she had the also scary dreams.
I worry that Helga and Aslaug see the dreams as just, we saw this was going to come, how exciting, and not maybe we should, first of all, wonder why we were sent these dreams. Were they a warning? Were they just an FYI from the gods? Like, what are these about?
Especially when Aslaug is someone that regularly has visions.
Yeah.
And believes them and takes them seriously. It's just strange that she didn't see this as possibly a dangerous vision. Because it wasn't like he was hopping through the field full of daisies with rainbows. This was a pretty dark dream.
It's not the poppy field from Wizard of Oz. It's scary.
Exactly. It's the flying monkeys. It's very out of character for Aslaug, so I don't know. Maybe they're trying to give Siggy more power or more strength as a character by letting her be the skeptic.
She's also a lot older than the other women. She has a lot more experience, not just in life, but kind of politically, and she has seen machinations of all kinds of people when she was the Earl's wife. It makes sense that she'd be a lot more cautious and a lot more suspicious.
And I think she feels protective of Aslaug and the boys.
Which she proved last season.
By not murdering them, yes. And possibly, maybe she feels sort of motherly because she's older than them. Maybe. And she's lost all
she
her
could
children.
Have been a grandmother by now. I will say I do
definitely.
like that they all seem to be living together with their kids. It's turned into this little commune of women and children while the men are gone.
Well, it takes a village. That's what
certainly does. Yep. What about Ragnar and Rollo? What's next for them? And Quenthrith?
Maybe they'll go home.
Do you think now
for
that
a while.
Quenthrith has gotten what she wanted, she'll continue to be on the show?
I think probably yes. I think she's going to continue to have interactions with Egbert because I think Egbert wants Mercia. I don't think Egbert wants to join with Mercia. I think he wants to rule Mercia. So that's going to take some work overthrowing Quenthrith.
So do you think Ragnar, now that they've fulfilled their contract, basically, do you think they're going to go home?
I think it would be reasonable for them to go home.
Okay.
At least for some time. Yeah, they have to all miss their families.
I don't know. When they left, they didn't seem like they were going to miss them very much, those guys.
Well, Torstein and Rollo didn't seem like they were going to miss anybody, but Ragnar's pretty attached to his kids.
How do you think he's going to feel about Harbard?
I don't know what he's going to think about him.
He seems suspicious of everyone right now.
Well, that's not a bad thing when you're a ruler. And, you know, if you're the boss, there's always somebody else that wants to be the boss too, so you have to watch out for them. I hope that he and Floki can come to some sort of compromise instead of constantly arguing.
Do you think that's going to continue to be a thorn in Floki's side as long as Athelstan is around?
I think whether Athelstan is around or not, I think it bothers Floki that Ragnar is so tolerant of Christianity. Having Athelstan there doesn't help at all. But I think even without him, it would still be a problem.
Tell me this. If the Vikings go back to Kattegat, will Athelstan go with them?
I think it depends on if Lagertha goes. I have a feeling that he'll go where she does for a little while.
Oh, okay.
Unless she goes to Hedeby. I don't think he'll go to Hedeby, but I think if she leaves Wessex, he'll go to Kattegat. But I think if she stays, he'll stay. If he's smart, he'll leave. Because I know that he likes Judith a lot, and he's going to get himself in some hot water. And I feel bad because I do want him to be happy, and I do want him to have someone in his life if that's what he wants. This is not the right person for that.
Now it's time for Cheek of the Week, where we talk about something good that we like and want to share with you. It's my turn for this cheek this week, and my cheek is the El Rio Day Pack by Timbuk2. Timbuk2 is a company that does a lot of different kinds of bags for the most part. Bicycling bags, they have regular bags, lots of messenger bags and things. I have a couple of bags by them. One is a super nice camera bag, and it has little foam inserts. This is not that bag. The one I have, I call my business backpack. It looks pretty sleek. It's pretty nice. It's not like a kid's backpack at all. It has a really nice fabric. The one I have is gray, but I don't think they sell that one anymore. Now they have just a different shade of gray with kind of a tweed almost pattern on the one of the front pieces, and then they have one that's all black. You can get them on Amazon or Timbuk2's website. But it's called El Rio. So it has one big main pocket that has a little foam padded sleeve for a laptop, which is really nice. And then it has a middle pocket, which is just kind of an open space with some little pockets for small items. And then the kind of open one on the other side of the backpack that's not your front. The fabric is really nice. It kind of folds over very elegantly. It's lovely. But the backpack also has a little kind of mesh pocket on one side, and the straps are really padded. But the whole thing is super nice. And it's not crazy expensive. I've had mine for a couple of years, I'd say. And I use it all the time. I use it to take my laptop back and forth from work to home, because I work from home sometimes, and it carries everything really nice and just keeps it so well protected. I like it because I can wear it and I don't feel like I'm wearing a kid's backpack walking around town, because I'm not 20 years old. So I feel a little more mature than I would if I were just wearing like a JanSport or something. Yeah, and so the company is called Timbuk2. That's the number 2. And we'll put a link on our site so you can find it.
All right, listeners, please visit our website to find all of our Cheeks of the Week, learn about our other podcasts, send us questions and feedback, and find ways to support the show.
That's our episode. Please leave us a review on iTunes. It really, really helps other people find the show. You can follow us on Twitter at SomeCheek, Facebook.com/SomeCheek, and Instagram at Something Cheeky Podcast. To listen to our other podcasts about popular books, TV shows, and movies, like Wonder Woman and Spider-Man, just search for Something Cheeky in your favorite podcasting app, or you can find them on our website also. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Dig-a-da-dub, dig-a-da-da-da-dub.